beautiful day, and I welcome you to another interesting episode of Talk Health on Venue Television. My name is Iwange Baja. Today we'll take a look at teenagers' care or adolescents' care for sustainable health systems. You know, most of the time we talk about children's health, male health, women, and all that. There's a thin line between childhood and adulthood, and we tend to most of the time neglect those teenagers, yes, those adolescents. But today we'll be my searchlight on these very important aspects of the society. And I won't be doing the show alone. I have two very handsome gentlemen in the studios of Venue Television today. The founder and executive director of Teenagers Care for Sustainable Development Initiative, Lotire Idoko, and Jimmy Ode, who is the Secretary General of the same organization. We'll meet them after this time out. Don't go anywhere.
We'll have to go and investigate.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's good to know you're still there on Talk Health this beautiful day. And I said before we went on our break, we're taking a look at adolescents' care for sustainable health systems. Sorry, my guest is actually, to my immediate left, is actually Jimmy Oche, not Ode, as I said earlier. Jimmy Oche is the General Secretary of Teenagers Care for Sustainable Development Initiative, and Lotire Idoko. You both welcome to Talk Health.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
So, straight to the crux of the matter, Jimmy, who is an adolescent?
Okay, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for this question. An adolescent, according to the World Health Organization, adolescent is the person, right, who ranges from ages 10 to 19. And you have those age classifications in different places, different groups. Some say 12 to 19, some deal with 13 to 19. But the World Health Organization says they are 10 to 19. So we look at these people group who are between these age brackets. And also another meaning to adolescents, which people don't pay much attention to again, it's that adolescents are these young people who are transiting from childhood, to adulthood. So this transitional stage comes with a lot of biological, physical, social, psychological changes. Alright, so you find it happening within that age bracket. So
now, why do you think adolescents' care is important?
Again, because of this transition, and this transition comes with a lot of challenges. Okay, and when you're a child, you know you're a child.
Exactly.
When you're an adult, you know you're an adult.
Exactly.
Now, this group of people are moving from childhood to adulthood, and like I said earlier, it comes with a lot of physical, mental, social, and psychological, and even emotional changes. And this is a whole lot for this teenager or this adolescent to comprehend. So as he's trying to understand his movement from being a child to becoming an adult, it comes with what we call identity crisis. And as he begins to go through that, it becomes challenging. He's trying to understand himself, also trying to understand society.
Okay, Lotire, who do you think is the right person to care for an adolescent? Most of them say, I can care for myself, I can do this for myself. In fact, when you have little children, there comes that stage, you want to help them, maybe put on their clothes, have the bath, they'll refuse. I can do it by myself. Now, these adolescents, who do you think is the right person to care for them?
Thank you once again for having us. Who is the right person? First, themselves. In fact, for children, like children who will say, leave me, I want this. The teenagers will even tell you, I know I'm an adult. I know exactly what I'm doing. It's a common language you find with them. So first themselves, indeed the parents, teachers in schools, teachers of adolescents or teenagers as we call them more, in churches, in religious places, and indeed the society. When I say society now, rather say the government needs to be involved in the care for adolescents. Everyone is involved. But as a matter of fact, it affects everyone. Just like Jimmy was saying, World Health Organization has it that for every 6 persons, there's an adolescent. There's one adolescent in every 6 persons in the world as we have it now. That tells you that there's a whole lot of persons in that category. And if they are not careful, what happens is it affects their adulthood. We have parents today who, because of their teenage upbringing, because of the misconceptions, the abuse, and all that comes with the teenage, maybe because their parents didn't understand it, or for whatever reasons they lacked care and some kind of understanding. Today we have a lot of parents who are not.
Now let's look at this care. Can you categorically name, when I say what who are caring for them now, what kind of care do you think is important or is relevant for adolescents to help them? Because we are looking at sustainable health systems.
Okay, well, Jimmy was talking about the different. First of all, they have what we call identity crisis, like he has said earlier. So they need care in terms of education of what the adolescent age is about, what developmental changes that occur in their bodies, the physical. Unfortunately, we have, not unfortunately per se, but we have a system where in the religious places and sometimes even in the schools, they are taught basically about puberty, the physical changes in their bodies. But there's much more that has to do with, there's a physical change, but it also results to the cognitive and psychosocial changes in the adolescents. And if they are not taught on time, we have had cases where you see adolescents. A story that was told, Professor Yaji always tell us that story of BSU, where a girl child didn't know about menstrual cycle, and the first time she had it, because she couldn't talk to her parents for the obvious reasons, where we have a teen crisis with their parents, the girl had to tell a boy and say, look, I saw blood. And he said, you want it to stop? He said, yes. Okay, fine, then this is the way to make it stop. And then
such a wrong notion.
Yes, she got the education wrongly. So, and when she went to sleep with the guy, she got pregnant, and thankfully she went to thank the guy. Thank you, the whole blood thing has stopped. So they need to be educated, and who is going to educate them? Us. We adults who have gone through these stages, the teachers, the parents, we need to educate them on it. So they also need care when it comes to their needs. You may not have all it takes as a parent, but there are some basic needs of adolescents that we should not shy away from. Even if I cannot provide, I explain to my ward, I explain to them, I make them see that this is what I'm going through right now. But we find a situation where nobody talks to them, or as we used to have it those days, look, I can't provide it, get out, and that's all. There's nothing to tell me this is why I can't. But the teenagers today are not like our time. We were not exposed to a lot of things. We didn't know so much. But now the social media has come, and even before adolescents, they know so much. They know things that even have to do with their rights.
So they need right information.
They need right information, they need education, they need their needs cared for, they need their needs provided for as much as possible, especially when it comes to maybe their educational needs. You are in school, you need certain materials as much as possible, even if it's not the best of schools.
Now, where does the place of mentorship, skills acquisition, where does that come in? Does that still fall under care?
Yes, they all fall under care. Part of the needs of adolescents is explore. They want to explore, and if you don't give them the opportunity to express themselves, give them the platform to express themselves, to make sure, which is one of the things I must say, that we as Teens Care try to do. We try to provide for them in terms of skill acquisition and talent. We have a lot of them with several talents that is just lying fallow, and if because it's not fun, and that's what we try to do, to mentor them in their talent, in skill acquisition, helping them to appreciate the need, to take up a skill. It's not just it's one thing to go to schools, another thing to have a skill in this generation now, so you can be able to help yourself. So yes, it's part of the care that they need.
Now let's look at the problems. What do you think affects teenagers' health the most?
Wow. Well, what affects teenagers' care the most, I would say, is the developmental changes. It all begins with the developmental changes of adolescents, what we call puberty today. The developmental changes, we have the physical changes. I think that's taught largely, where we have changes in their bodies, their physiques, for the boys, for the girls. For the girls, one that is very striking is that of their menstrual cycle. For the guys, one that is very striking is change of their voice, and then broad-chested, that comes with the way they think after that, how they feel, okay, and all of this translates to how they begin to see their father or their mother. So now, where the father or mother do not understand the teenagers or don't care for them, then you have their issues more complicated, because they don't have someone to talk to or to express themselves on those things that they are feeling. So their health issues, actually, in WHO has it that 1 out of every 7 teenagers or adolescents go through mental disorder, and this mental disorder actually begins from the developmental changes, what we're talking about now, and so that's the major thing. And if you're able to educate them, you're able to take them through the process, and as a parent, you know it, that because my ward is going through changes, you expect them, there's what we call age appropriate behavior. So in adolescents, if they start displaying some of this age appropriate behavior, you don't go calling them names. We have had to deal with parents who call their adolescents prostitutes, who call their parents, they give all kinds of names, and that affect their mental health. So mental health issues is a major thing with the adolescents, and it begins with the developmental change.
It's a beautiful one. I believe you're having a swell time as well. I am. Looking at adolescents' care for sustainable health systems. If we don't have a beautiful adolescent, I tell you, we're going to have chaos tomorrow, and the health system will be in shambles. But with this, I think things will get better. You can actually follow us on all our social media platforms at benuetv.ng. We'll be back after this time out. Don't go anywhere. It's good to know you're still there. It is Talk Health on Benue Television, where we'll bring you all issues relating to your health and try to provide solutions to same. Today we've been taking a look at adolescents' care for sustainable health systems. Who would have known that mental health is one of the major crises adolescents face? And where does it come from? From their biological, physical changes. But with this topic today, I know there's going to be, we're going to change the narrative. Now, Jimmy, what do you think is the common problem with teenagers' health care services?
Okay. We've established from the beginning that everybody is involved, okay, in caring for teenagers, parents, society, the teachers, indeed the society at large. But in our work with teenagers, one of the major common problems we find is the misconceptions, out there in society about who teenagers are, okay, and what they stand for. We've been to places where you talk about teenagers, and the first thing you hear is they are stubborn, they are criminals, they are this. So that's the first thing. And teenagers out there watching people call them what they are not. It affects their cycle, it affects their thinking, it affects the, and then there's the problem of acceptance, okay, which comes with identity crisis like we've established before. A teenager looks out to himself. First, he even checks his physique, because it even begins from the physical outlook. For instance, a young girl feels a girl who is fair is more beautiful than me that is dark, or a girl who is busty is more beautiful than me who don't have those kind of features, and then it begins to affect the teenager's thinking. So he feels inferior, okay, and begins to battle things like low self-esteem, which if not properly checked can lead to depression, and then sometimes you have suicidal thoughts.
Now, what do you think parents should do better? Yes, before we come to the government, what do you think parents should do better to change the narrative?
Okay.
Because they were once teenagers.
Yeah. And I think that's where the problem begins. You think they are once teenagers, but most parents don't remember they were once teenagers, and that's where we, have the problem. Yes, most parents don't believe that they were once teenagers. They just feel we've metamorphosed to adult, and it's not like it's so easy how people just forget we were once teenagers, like that, and it becomes a problem. So we want parents to understand that, see, these things these teenagers are going through, they are not strange. You've been there. Yeah, it's a phase, and it will come to pass. But if managed properly from parents, and we are more emphatic about the family, because family is the first social cycle. This is the first environment of the teenager. So the perception the teenager gets from the family will help him or her as he goes out into society. So parents should understand the teenagers. Parents should be friendly with them. Parents should learn how to develop positive relationships with their teenagers. Until that is achieved, we may keep having, and like my executive director has said, if you go through research again, you find out that there's a research work we're looking at yesterday that said that most teenagers are still going through parent-teenagers crisis, which is one of the fuels, in addition to the identity crisis. This parent-teenagers crisis is one of the fuels that affects it, because if a teenager doesn't feel good about himself in the family, he will not feel good about himself outside, and it's a very fast way of aligning to bad company, falling under peer pressure and all that. So parents have a role to play in reducing the level of this crisis by first understanding that they were teenagers, to agreeing that these teenagers are people too, they are important, then seeking positive steps to cultivate positive relationships with their teenagers, which is one of the things that we do in teenagers care.
Okay, now let's look at what it takes, because if you have a teenager, I have mine, you have yours, and I feel okay, these teenagers are, in fact, they are out of bounds. They've overstepped their boundaries, and I don't know what to do. There are parents like that. They become overwhelmed with what their teenagers are doing. As you said, they've forgotten that they were once teenagers. What does it take to initiate, a sustainable teenage care? Where can these teenagers go to? Where can they call for help? There are some organizations like that, and where is the place of the government in this? You made mention of that earlier.
Okay, well, thank you once again. Just like my GF was saying, the truth is, let me just add to that parents don't just forget they were teenagers, but I think they also forget that when they were teenagers, different from now, that we have teenagers, and the future teenagers in the next 10 years will also not be the same as the teenagers that we have today. And we all need to appreciate the fact that things are changing, and the world is getting, the global system is, a lot of things are changing, and we all need to appreciate it. Well, the truth is, first, let's all understand that there's a problem. We have a concern that the teenagers are being left out in a lot of campaigns, in a lot of seminars and trainings. Just like you said in your introduction, we have so much about children, so much about youth, so much about adults, and men and women, but the teen age, we started in 2008, and since then we've been trying our little part to take this message to schools, to communities, to various places, to tell the people to, first of all, help the teenagers understand themselves, and also advocate to various stakeholders. We have gone to several government parastatals to tell them, look, it's high time we talk about this teen age for parents to understand. So yeah, it's not an easy task. Dealing with teenagers comes with a lot of it has to be a passion, it has to be a vision, because like we said, not many people appreciate this. Not many people, in fact, we still have parents who don't believe that the teenagers have anything that is unique. They don't seem to understand it. No matter how we have tried to pass a message, they still don't. As far as they are concerned, they are not only child in the house. There are other children. There are other. I mean, why should it be so? But the teenagers are unique, and we must all appreciate.
Let's take a look a bit about success stories. Do you have any teenagers who reunited with their parents? Some that were thrown out of the house because of illicit drugs or extreme bad behavior, misconduct, and all that.
Yeah, indeed, several. But what you have mentioned is we still have some that were. What you have mentioned, basically, we have a case where a teenager, we rescued a teenager from a group where someone is promising them to take them abroad, and he attended our section and soon realized the man that is taking care of them in that group, over 100 teenagers actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this one attended our meeting and he said the man was threatening their lives, and he said if you ever say it, what was he doing with them? He was teaching them gay, going through the annals with them, and they're affected, but they can't speak out, they can't say it. So we have that we are even still we have rescued one of them. We have put he's gone back to school. Don't forget this, that the man was doing affected his sight, affected his mental health. He couldn't tell his parents, he couldn't tell nobody until we reached out to a group. He came to our mentorship center in Makurdi here, and then when he heard us talk, he said, wow, there's someone I can talk to. And so he opened up, and he's back in school now. Thankfully, TTFI is back in school, and we are hoping that he will graduate successfully. We have parents, we have had a time where we do capacity building for teachers and parents, and what you have mentioned is a case where we have parents have come to say, look, I didn't know that I was transferring aggression, because part of what we do is to take the parents through when they were teenagers, their life and how it was, and help them to see that you may be acting in certain ways, taking things personal with your teenager right now, probably because of your own upbringing, and it's different, and we must appreciate those differences. So we have been able to reconcile a lot of parents, and teenagers, and right now we are carrying out a special campaign to parents. We call it Project KYT. It's Project Know Your Teenagers, and that's something we must take out to every community to let them know that teenagers are unique and we must appreciate them.
Okay. Now, what is the place of the government in all this?
Yes, the government is you and I. Let's start with ourselves. In your school as a teacher, in the home as a father, we all have a role, and the government of Benue State, indeed, and that of Nigeria, is important that we support. We are also clamoring for certain policies, like we're talking about what is taught in puberty in schools now. We are saying it's important that the education system go beyond puberty teachings to explaining further for the teenagers to understand what comes with the physical changes, not just physical change. Yes, physical change, but it can result to A, B, C, and how to cope with it. Also for foundations that we have like ours, we are already doing it, but of course we need support, some kind of support, and environments that that permits us to go into more schools. We're doing that with Ministry of Education now. Thankfully, the Commissioner of Education has graciously granted us that permission, and they have accredited our foundation to go to more schools, so that we can be able to reach out to. So the government has tried on their part. In fact, the Commissioner of Education, Benue State, is very keen about these adolescents, and he has pledged his support. He's going to be with us on Thursday, to talk about these teen issues and see how we can resolve it together.
Where?
Yeah, he's going to be with us at Benue State College of Health Science. We are taking out our public unveiling. Suffice I add that for these 15 years of operation, we have never sought funding from anybody. We have never met anyone to say support us in any way. We run it ourselves. We go to the schools and do so. On Thursday, we are doing a public unveiling of TFI, and we have invited the government to join us to be a part of what we are doing in TFI, so that the campaign can be taken much more communities.
Even to the grassroots.
Yes, go to the grassroots and see how we can be able to pass the message.
Okay, so what's your final word? Time is not on our side. We could actually go on and on, but we must call it a wrap right now. What is the most important thing you think teenagers should know?
Okay, we just want teenagers to know that first of all, the fact that you're going through what you are going through doesn't make you an abnormal person. You're normal. Teenagers should realize who they are, their unique breeds, and that they have a huge role to play in society. They can contribute positively to society. They're embedded with a lot of giftings and talents that, if given the right approach, can bring them out to be responsible. What we believe is, if we produce responsible, wholesome teenagers, we will raise responsible societies where peace and development will be sustainable.
Thank you, Jimmy. Lottery.
Well, what can I say? First, to say thank you that finally we are happy that we're talking adolescents on air. We want more, that the adolescents can hear more. But for parents, he has spoken to. Let me speak to parents. Parents, teenagers are not abnormal. They are not possessed. If I may use the word, they are unique, and they are special people. Just give them some attention, hear them out, speak to them, and have that conversation. I'm sure we'll have a better society tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Lottery Idoko.
Thank you.
Executive, and Jimmy Oche. It's been a pleasure having you both on my show this morning. And that's how we call it a wrap on Talk Health today. We'll come your way next week with another interesting, impactful, educative, of course interesting episode of your favorite Talk Health on Benue Television. My name is Iwange Baja. Have a healthy week ahead. Bye for now.